Okay, welcome to this video where we're now going to be talking about choosing from the right options that you've already done in the previous step. So just to kind of review quickly again, repetitiveness is going to help make this sink in. But going through a series of steps, we are now at the choose stage of the EMOCAR sequence. Okay. When you look at the word choose, think about this word as decide. It comes from this Latin word which means to cut off. Now what I like about this definition of cutting something off, it means after you've looked at kind of your different options, you decide on what you're going to do, but you're also taking the other options and you're saying, no, I'm not doing those. You're now more focused on that. If you kind of always have this holding on to those things as you kind of go forward, then you're going to be second guessing yourself going forward. So when you or make your final decision, know that you're cutting off these other options and you're moving forward. It gives you more focus. When you're making your decision, again, you have these different choices, the emotional part is going to play into this. Your identity, who you think you are, what you think you're capable of, is going to help steer what way you're going to go and actually selecting which option you want to pick. Here's things to look out for. There's going to be two of them. Pride. Pride is one of them. There's a famous saying that you can be right or you can be rich. You know, sometimes people do things out of pride, even though it would have, picking another option would have been better for them from a monetary standpoint, but from just getting things on the right track, pride can sometimes get in the way of that. Let's use an example, Blockbuster and Netflix. Now, Blockbuster was really huge back in the 1990s. I mean, they were opening stores all over. I mean, they were like the darling of the press as far as, a business model that was really working well for them. But you see, at the height of their dominance, they had in the year 2000, Netflix actually came to them and said, hey, we would like for you to buy us for $50 million because of this business model that we have. Well, the CEO of Blockbuster laughed off that offer. He simply couldn't see how this was ever going to possibly work. Fast forward, of course, from 2000 up to today, we know where this stands. They're in the space, they're gone. This person's pride got in the way of doing a good deal. Now, we're sometimes going to pick options that probably aren't the best just because we have to make a judgment call, but you have to make sure that pride isn't the thing that's kind of getting in the way of you making ultimately the right decision. The other one, I said pride was number one. Number two is indecision. And this is caused by some sort of internal conflict. You're trying to decide which way to go with it, and you see the pros and cons of each one, and you get kind of hung up and kind of hamstrung on which way to go because of this internal conflict. If you look at Michael Milken, who was in the junk bond business back in the 80s. Now, he did get in trouble, and he actually went to jail, but when he got out, of course, he did great things for cancer research. But in his business, he had to make decisions within 10 seconds. And keep this in mind, back in the 80s when he was trying to do stock trades, he didn't have all the internet real-time data like we have now. He had to make decisions based upon kind of an archaic information system, and he still had to make decisions in 10 seconds. Now, this is a little bit different than what we're talking about. What we're talking about is handling situations that you may have some more time to kind of weigh things out, but you can see how if you get good at making decisions, you can get this time compressed so that you can make good decisions moving forward on a very technical level. But really, going back to the whole indecision thing, it's kind of like this. Remember from The Office where Michael Scott, there was this promotion that they were doing, and he didn't know if he was going to be in trouble or not, and so he just said basically, look, I just want the credit without any of the blame. And I think when we're talking about indecision, this is where we find ourselves. We're kind of caught between which way we want to go because we only want the good, we don't want the potential bad that may come with it. Just know that that's never going to be an option. Now, Napoleon Hill had a book that was very famous. It said, he said in this book, life is like a game board. Life is a game board. Time is your opponent. If you procrastinate, you will lose the game. You have to make a move to be victorious. So it was the book called Think and Grow Rich. It's a very famous book. I highly recommend it. But I can say that this one here has to deal with this whole idea of indecision and not being able to make up your mind which way you want to go. But the longer you wait in a state of indecision, then you're going to see that time just keeps passing by and you're kind of losing more and more ground. So when we are wrapping this part up, you can see we're getting to this number 3 part, which is be decisive. Okay, when you're making a decision, number 3 here, choose, that's the bottom line. Just be decisive. I said have more than one option, and you may end up just picking that one option. But as you saw in the example of the Xerox case, had a combination of different options to put it together. It was one decision on what the strategy was, but there was a decision to move forward. So my advice to you is when you're going through this, you're going to have to just make your best call and move forward with it. Next up will be the action part of the emo car sequence. All right, take care.